In this clip, we're going to go ahead and rename our joint chains. And as a rigger, you're always going to want to be looking for ways of speeding up your process. And interestingly, we're going to take a step back in order to speed this process up. Namely, I want to grab the right side joints and I want to delete them, okay? Because we're going to name these separately and then we're going to mirror them and get done what we need to get done that way. All right, so let's start with the spine. First, actually, let's start with the joint 7, which is going to be our root joint. Okay, it's going to be actually our pelvis. So let's go ahead and call it pelvis. That's it. We don't want to do any more naming than this. We're going to use comment rename to do the heavy lifting here. In fact, funny I should mention that. Let's do comment rename right now. Let's bring that up so we have it and so we can see what we're going to do with this. What you want to do is I'm going to go ahead and hold down my shift key and click on the little plus button by the pelvis, and this is going to give me all of these joints that I have. And you may be able to use these same numbers, but the fact is I'm going to want to go ahead and grab all of these, and I'm going to call it rename, and I'm going to call them spine. Okay, we can start at 1. Actually, we'll just go ahead and start it at 1 and click rename. Okay, that gives us our spine. I want to grab this joint up here and I want to call it C-spine. Now to do that, I'll just go here and call it C-spine because that's kind of the beginning of the rib back, or the back of the ribs, I should say. I want to go up here to this first neck joint. I've actually got, looks like I've got 3 neck joints. Let's call these neck. Okay, and that renames them. Okay, I'm going to grab this joint. This joint's going to be called head. I'm going to call this head top. By the way, we can turn off our ability to select geometry so that we don't accidentally select. I'll call it head top. That actually is what we're going to wind up eventually hooking our face controller to. This one we're going to call it eye, but it's going to wind up being the left eye. This is going to be the jaw. This can be chin 1. And this can be chin 2. All right, so we've got those. Now let's go to this joint and call it collar. This one would be shoulder. Elbow. This can be wrist or palm. It's really up to you. I'll call it wrist. These little guys right here are going to be thumb joints, and I want to make sure that I get that ending joint. This I'll call thumb. Okay, click rename and number, and now they'll be thumb. Then you can scroll down and see them. Actually, the easiest way to do this is to click on the button here and then click on your select hierarchy button. Call this index. Okay. Click on select high. Notice how these buttons really make things a little easier. I'll call this mid, not middle, but mid to keep it short. Select high, and this will be ring. Whoops. Okay, and click here. And select high. Call this pink. Okay. Try that again. Select hierarchy. Missed the ring. Okay, that's fine. This joint we'll call cup. And these will select high and call this one ring. The order doesn't really matter. Just you want to make sure you get it. I may have not forgotten and not hit the rename and number. All right, so let's go down to the leg. Okay, this one we will call hip. This next one we will call knee 1. And this we'll call knee 2. Let's call this ankle. Call this ball. And hit the down arrow and call this last one toe. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily like to use the end joints. I do. I think that they're very useful. Now we should have, and so that's why I try to name everything. Okay, so now we've got all these squared away. Now we're gonna bring in comment rename. It's going to do some heavy lifting for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and I'm going to hit select hierarchy. I'm going to call it a prefix. I'm going to call this gruff. Now, normally, to tell you the truth, I would really like to use lowercase, but I noticed I've used an uppercase in the geos, so I'm going to keep it consistent. And I'm going to use the prefix. I'm going to call it capital GRUF underscore LF underscore. And I'm going to add the suffix of underscore DEF. And I'm going to add prefix, and then I'm going to add suffix. Okay, this means that it is part of the deformation skeleton. All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab, actually what I'm going to do next is I'm going to unparent this. I'm going to hold down the shift key and press P. So I've got an unfettered shot at what I'm about to do next. Pelvis, I'm going to change this as, make this C. And I'm going to add prefix, and I'm going to add suffix. Then I'm going to grab that joint, spine 1, and I'm going to select hierarchy, and I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, so now all of these are named the proper way. Click here, and I will go to select hierarchy, and now I'll change this to LF. And now it will select all of these. We'll add prefix and add suffix. And now we've got all of our joints named properly. Now I'm going to reparent. And I'm going to grab these joints and I'm going to go to skeleton, mirror joint options. And I'm going to search for underscore LF underscore. And I'm going to replace it with underscore RT underscore. And I'm going to click apply. Okay, now I've got my right collar, and if I open this up, you'll see that they're all right. I'm going to do the same thing here. Click apply. And now I've got all of my right joints, all the joints, my entire skeleton in a little bit under 9 minutes. I have completely renamed everything on my skeleton, and now I'm ready to go on to the next phase, which is orienting our joints. Now, I could also do this with the joint orient. Oops, I forgot one joint there. Forgot the eye joint, which is actually really important. All right, we'll go back and go to skeleton, mirror joints, click apply. It's going to be YZ, click apply, and that should give us our joints squared away. Front view, make sure that's right. Hit F, yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly where we want it. Joints are going straight up. We're in good shape. All right, so as I was saying, we could have done this with our orient as well. However, I want to use this opportunity when we orient our joints in the skeleton. I want to use this as an opportunity to let us make some decisions which will affect us down the line as far as how these joints are going to rotate for our purposes here. So what I want to do is, I'm in the next clip or two, if necessary, I'm going to want to go in and orient these joints, and I'm going to orient both the left and right. Fortunately, with our select hierarchy button and our comet join orient, it actually isn't very hard, but we're going to talk a little bit about how we want to do that and why we're doing what we're doing.